raised in the Baptist church. The church I attended to and grew up in, they obviously seen some type of gifts that I had, and I became a youth minister, and then from that I became an associate pastor in the Baptist church. My wife during that time was an employee for the Salvation Army in Albany, Georgia, where I grew up. She went through an illness that pretty much was supposed to have taken her out. And through that, we realized that God had another plan for us. And I had an opportunity to go to work for the Salvation Army in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so I took a position there. My wife was healed only by the touch of God, because the doctor said she shouldn't have been. So we both went to work for the Salvation Army as employees. Then we became officers in 2005. We were appointed to Reedsville, North Carolina. We were there 5.5 years. Then we went to Greenville, North Carolina, where we were stationed for 6 years. Then we were transferred to Clarksburg, West Virginia for 2 years. And then I had a motorcycle accident. I was running 70 miles an hour on the interstate and passed out. And I spent 16 months in the hospital and in rehab. And once we were able to get back to work, we told our leadership that we were ready to go back to work. And so during appointment time, they appointed us to Anderson, South Carolina. We're so happy to be back in the Carolinas. Anderson basically is halfway between my 91-year-old mother in Albany, Georgia, and my son, who just got married in March, in Greensboro, North Carolina. So not only is Anderson a good location for us, Anderson is a good appointment. There are a lot of opportunities here that we see. Now, it's not going to just happen. There's going to be a lot of work involved, and we have a staff that's on board and ready to go to work. So we look forward to serving in Anderson, and God's going to just bless what we do here. I truly believe that.
And what are some of your goals for here?
Well, we need a facility update. There has not been a capital campaign here in a while now. I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but we are looking at maybe updating some facilities. We could use a better Boys and Girls Club. We would like to see a better facility for our Boys and Girls Club. So we're looking at that. And all this is just me thinking out loud some things. Well, what about this or what about that? And so we're trying to involve some community leadership to tell us yes or no, that's probably not a good idea. So that's the point, the stage we're at right now, seeing what we need and what we need to do, how we can do it. But we do need a facility update, so there's some things that need to be done. The Dobies did a great job here opening the overflow shelter, which is now called the men's shelter. We've changed the shelter into a family and women's shelter. We've changed the overflow shelter to a men's shelter. We've increased the bed space in the men's shelter by 11 beds. We've increased the women and children's shelter, which we didn't have a children's shelter before, or family shelter, but we've increased that by 4 beds. And we also look to increase that even a little bit more as we figure out where the space is. But just in 2.5, 3 months that we've been here, there's a lot already happening, and so we're excited. There's a lot of possibilities here. We just need people to come on board, some leadership in the county and city to come on board and say, yes, that will work, or maybe that's not a good idea. We're very open to hear from our community, because the people here already know this community better than we do, and so we need to do a lot of listening first before we do any big steps.
And for people who don't know, remind people what the Salvation Army's ministry is and what you do here.
Well, the Salvation Army ministry in every location could be different. This is the first community that we've been in, other than my wife being an employee in Albany, Georgia. They had a shelter. But this is the first appointment we've been in where we had a Boys and Girls Club, and we had a shelter that we overseen. A lot of communities, it's done different in whatever the needs are in that community. But we do have a Boys and Girls Club here and a shelter here. And we just love on the people here. That's all we can do, is just love on them and help them to go from point A to point B or C. So, like I say, every community is different according to the needs. And we don't really want to duplicate anything that's already being done. If it's being done very well, we want to look and see what the needs are in Anderson and Anderson County and try to meet those needs.
And for people who don't know about the Boys and Girls Club, it's been here a long time. Remind people what the Boys and Girls Club is.
The Boys and Girls Club is a place where boys and girls can come either after school programs or during the summer. We have summer long programs where they spend all day there. They actually have a camp The Salvation Army has a camp that the kids can sign up and go to a camp during the summer for either a weekend or a week experience. As they say in the Salvation Army, camp changes lives, and it does change lives. The Boys and Girls Clubs changes lives, and we're glad to have that and just see our boys and girls grow up into what God wants them to be.
And the idea of shelters and getting people off the street, if people don't know, tell people what that's about.
Well, the shelters are to help people get off the streets. Now, the Salvation Army, our goal at the Salvation Army is not only to help them get off the street, but we want them to set some goals. You're here, how are we going to get you to point B or point C? What do we need to do? If they have drug issues, if they have alcohol issues, we have a great caseworker who will work with them every day and help them get the help that they need to help them get from point A to point C. And so the shelter is a way to help people get off the street, help them to change their life and to get on their own feet. So we're here to help them do that.
And how can the community help the Salvation Army succeed in the goals you're talking about?
Well, of course, the financial thing is always big. As I was told when I first came into the Salvation Army, if you don't have the money to do it, you can't do it. So that is a big need. It is always a need. But volunteering, there's volunteer opportunities. I mean, you just call our office, and if you want to volunteer, we're going to sign you up and help you. Whether that's feeding or whether that's coming in and just ministering to people, whether that's conducting a Bible study, whether it's just being here and helping us, helping our staff, maybe clerical work in the office. We have that, but there's so many opportunities. Just call us and we will plug you in. We can even use groups, church groups, civic groups that will come in and say they'll take a certain Sunday or a certain week and they're going to feed the people and provide the meal to feed them. We always have that need. We always run a little short on that. So that need is always available.
And you mentioned cooperative efforts. You said you'd already met with leadership at the county. How important is your relationship to working with the county?
Oh, it's very important because I've never been to Anderson. I lived in Albany, Georgia. I traveled up and down the interstate many times. Knew Anderson was here, but I have never been to Anderson. So I come in not knowing anything pretty much. And our county leadership and our city leadership, we can plug them in and we can find out what's been happening in the past, where we're at and where we need to go and the things that we need to go to meet the needs of the community. And that's what we're here for.